In this video, I'm going to show some examples of how to divide decimals by decimals. The first thing that you'll need to do when you divide by decimal divisors is you're going to need to multiply the divisor by a power of 10 to shift all of the digits so that you no longer have a decimal divisor, you want a whole number divisor. So let me show you what I mean. On question 1, the dividend is 6 215 thousandths, and the divisor is 8/10. We don't want 8/10 to be a decimal. We need to shift this 8 over to this side of the decimal point. And what I mean there is all of the digits that are to the right of the decimal, we want to shift them somehow to the left by multiplying by a power of 10. And in this case, I only need to shift the 8 one place value to the left, which means I need to multiply it by 1 power of 10. Of course, if I multiply 8/10 by 10, it no longer is 8/10, it becomes 8. So if I want to keep this problem the same, I'm going to need to do the exact same thing to the left-hand side over here and multiply the dividend by 10 as well. When I multiply the dividend by 10, its digits also shift to the left one place value, so this becomes 62 1500ths. This new equation that I have, 62 1500ths divided by 8, will give me the exact same value as 6 215 thousandths divided by 8/10. And now I can just divide as I normally would divide a decimal by a whole number. Bring the decimal straight up into the correct place value and go ahead and do your long division. When you get to the end of the digits that you have written down right here, you may need to go ahead and fill in empty place values like the thousandths place here with a 0, and then continue your division. And I'm going to go ahead and go to one more place value because it looks like all of my answer choices are rounded to the thousandths place. So it goes into 60 7 times. And I could keep going. It looks like there's going to be a 5 at the very end here, because when I bring this last 0 down right here, it goes into 45 times. And so now I have 7 768 thousandths. This 8 in the 10 thousandths place will actually bump this up if I were rounding to the nearest thousandth. So my answer would be 7 769 thousandths, which is choice A. On question 2, our dividend is 2 945 thousandths divided by 34 hundredths. Because this is a decimal divisor, we need to multiply by a power of 10 in order to shift the digits over. Now, realistically, when you're shifting the digits over, you're probably going to think of it as shifting the decimal. Just keep in mind the decimal doesn't actually move. What we're trying to do is we're trying to make the decimal be right here in the problem, and to do that we're actually shifting our digits this direction 2 place values, which means we're multiplying by 2 powers of 10, which is 100. So we're going to do the same thing over to the dividend, and we're going to also shift them this direction, which makes our decimal look like it's moving 2 places to the right. So now I have 294 5/10 divided by 34. Can go ahead and write that out just like I normally would. Bring the decimal straight up to its correct place value and divide. I'm going to estimate that that's probably 8 times. And the reason I'm starting with 8 is because I see 2 answer choices that have an 8 as the first digit, B and D. And I think it's probably more than 5 times it'll go into 294. So that's 272, so it looks like it is going to be 8 times. So I can already eliminate answer choices A and C. So 34 goes into 225. I'm going to assume that it's probably 6 since the next digit in both answer choices is 6. So obviously I am going to have to divide out to at least one more place value. And I assume that's going to be another 6, because that would be 204. And if I went to even one more place value here, 34 goes into 60 only one time. I could keep going if I really wanted to here, but it looks like my answer is you definitely going to be answer choice B. Obviously, the next digit is going to be something that's going to bump this is 1 right here. It's going to be something that's going to bump that up to a 2 if we were to round it up. But I don't need to go any further because I've already determined that D is not my answer. On question 3, it does tell us to round to the nearest thousandth if needed. So here's the dividend, 5 and 737 thousandths, dividing by 62 thousandths. So again, need to shift all the digits to the left, which has the same effect, same visual effect of moving the decimal 3 places to the right, which means I'm going to multiply by 3 powers of 10, and I'm going to do that same thing to the dividend. 1, 2, 3. So this becomes 5,737 divided by 62. Now my decimal point is at the very end of the problem, and I may need that, I may not need that, but it is right here if I do need it. We may end up having a whole number answer, but probably not. 62 doesn't go into 5 or 57. How many times does it go into 573? I'm going to test 9. 2 times 9 is 18. 55. Looks like it is going to be 9 times. So do a little bit of regrouping here. And then bring down the next digit. 62 goes into 157. I'm going to assume it's probably twice. Looks like it is. And I am seeing that I am going to have to now put a 0 in the tenths place and keep dividing, because we do want to go to the thousandths place if necessary. I'm going to erase some of this work over here so I don't run into the problem. 62 goes into 330. I'm going to guess probably about 5 times, because 60 times 5 is 300. So this will be 310. And make sure you bring your decimal point straight up to separate the whole numbers from the decimals. So this will be 5 times 310. And we'll need to keep going. 62 goes into 200. Let's try 3 times. Looks like that's going to be accurate. 186. I have to keep going because this is obviously going to be a fairly lengthy problem. 62 will go into 140 twice, and I already know what that is. That's 124. I'm kind of running out of room down here on the bottom of my problem. If that ever happens, you can always just bring it up to the right a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring it up right here. And I'm going to go ahead and bring one more place value down. So put a 0 right there. 62 goes into 160 twice again. And 2 times 62 is 124. Now we do have a remainder, but in this case, I only need to round to the nearest thousandth. So this right here is the thousandths place. The digit just to the right of it is the 10,000ths place. It's the one that I'm going to look at to decide if it's more than halfway to the next thousandth. In this case, it's not. So rounding to the nearest thousandths would be 92 and 532 thousandths.